Climate Action by Taj Robinson. First, before we start, I need you guys to bear with me. I bought a new laptop, so I'm still kind of getting used to how it all works. And I'm hoping my slides are in order. All right. So, climate action, right? Let's jump right on into it. What is climate action, right? Climate action refers to the collective efforts taken by individuals, communities, governments, and business to combat climate change, right? So, let's dive into that one, right? So climate action is just pretty much exactly what it sounds like, an action to fight against like global warming and just spikes in temperatures in the ozone layer and stuff like that, right? Real scientific stuff that we don't really need to dive into, but that is what climate action is, just kind of in a entry level, informational session, right? So that's what it is, right? Let's see. Okay. So it's not in order. But let's roll with it. Let's improvise, right? When is climate action being used, right? Real simple. Climate action is used anytime it can be used by individuals, businesses, or even just government standards, right? Just implementing strategies to mitigate greenhouse gases emissions and to adapt to impact of changing climates, right? We say it time and time again. That is a absolute mouthful. So let's digest it, right? Um, let's take it to the individual level. Individual level, well, that is, hey, you know, I try not to drive a vehicle if I'm under, let's say, 10 miles, right? A person doing that would go and just maybe walk, ride a bike, or other options until they have to absolutely go farther distances, right? I personally don't do it, but that is just a a quick little example. Businesses, whether it be, hey, we offer, like, I know Amazon, for example. um they have a system to where you can essentially shuttle, like, so it's their own in-house Uber system, if you will. And if you are a person who lives in a major city, or just maybe a little less fortunate and you need a ride to work, they have their own little buddy system to kind of cut back on so many vehicles on the road and things of that nature. And of course, you have your government regulations, right? Um, if you guys are close to North Charlotte, North Carolina, Highway 77, which is a really long highway, is not necessarily, I wouldn't say regulations, but more so incentives. Um, Again, if you're familiar with the Charlotte area or even surrounding areas, you would know that traffic is absolutely horrible. So one of the things that Highway Patrol offers is running up and down the express lane. If you are with, I believe it's three or four people in your vehicle, you can say that you're commuting, which it gives you an incentive because then at that point the tolling is free. And of course, I'm sure you got a couple of knuckleheads who use and abuse it, right? Just like with anything else. But things like that, right? Like it limits like gas emissions and stuff like that. So that's always great. And even in the sense of electric vehicles, um, I would have to fact check it, but I remember a couple, maybe last year this time, um, President Trump kind of mentioned a push for EV vehicles and stuff like that, and it was some purchasing incentives on it as well. Um, who is using climate action, right? Again, it is used at a global level effort. It is driven by the United Nations, hundreds of nations, governments, thousands of corporations, and local politicians, right? And individual citizens, of course, all working to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to avoid the worst impact of global warming. What does that mean, right? That sounds crazy. It sounds funky. It sounds like a lot, right? But essentially, it is trying to preserve some of the good things that we have today, like national parks, green grass, just beautiful nature, and just things that we take for granted. Like again, you can walk up to me and tell me, "Hey, the ozone of the Earth went up 7 degrees," right? To me personally, at a quick like passing, and someone said that to me, it would mean nothing. But if you catch me on the day that I have my thinking cap on, then it would definitely get some hamster wheels turning and definitely get a reaction out of me, right? So let's move forward to how is climate control important, right? To our class, like SDG versions, right? So climate action is pretty much a cornerstone for achieving all sustainable development goals, right? Because climate control undermines economic stability, food security, even down to public health, and it urges measures to mitigate and adapt to, well, not to, but that are essential to protect past development gains and ensure a bright future, right? Kind of what I talked about, preserving it for that next generation or the next two generations or however you want to look at it, right? It is just kind of essentially gatekeeping what we have now and trying to preserve it, which is not always a bad thing, right? Like sometimes gatekeeping can be good. And that really that's a word that I just learned. But that is more so to kind of target that next generation that's coming up, that younger generation that is joining high school, college, or whatever you have it, right? Wherever they are in their life. Um, that's mainly for them, right? And lastly, where is climate change being used, right? So climate action is being used globally, nationally, if you will, and even locally. It is implemented through government regulations, right? We talked about that. Um, we're only really going to hit on the positive ones because I don't want to scare too many people, right? Those like government regulations, like the local ones. I wouldn't say necessarily it's a regulation, but it's an incentive. The hey, I have multiple people in my car. Okay, cool. We'll let you save $5 on this toll, right? Um, infrastructure investments. Um, when it comes to infrastructure, it's a scary sight to see on construction sites to see how many fumes are burning, how many fossil fuels. Like, just it is amazing, right? Corporate stability goals aimed at preventing the worst impact of global warming. Again, I think we driven that nail into the wood on this one, right? Um, all climate action is really just sitting down, putting pride to the side, and just honestly coming to a solution that preserves what we have, whether it be our farming, our, again, breathable air. Doesn't so you can just walk outside and it feels like you're breathing normal. You're not trying to breathe through a straw or if any of you remember COVID, trying to breathe through a mask while doing 1,000 different things, right? Um, and that's pretty much it for this lesson.